Step away from the car.
Call the number on the badge.
You expect us to believe this?
Verify it.
Is that real?
Anybody can buy a case. Officer, court starts. I've seen that seal before.
Ma'am, step back.
Call the number.
Something's wrong. Why isn't he verifying it?
Keep her there. This traffic stop was planned. You need to verify her credentials now. Step away from her. Federal review, now.
You should have called the number.
The officer's smile vanished only after the second pair of handcuffs clicked. 2 minutes earlier, he had laughed at the calm black woman standing beside her dusty sedan, his hand on his drawn weapon, asking if she had borrowed the badge in her palm. Why did the woman not shout? Why did the crowd outside the courthouse suddenly go silent? And why did an elderly clerk start crying when she recognized the silver pin on that badge? No one on Parker Avenue knew that this traffic stop was not an accident. By the time the truth reached the radio, the man giving orders was already surrounded by the one agency he never expected. Step away from the car. Aisha Bennett did not move. Morning wind slid along Parker Avenue, carrying the smell of wet concrete and burnt coffee from the diner across the street. One courthouse flag snapped overhead. Officer Travis Hale stood half a step too close, one hand lifted, the other near his belt, his mouth bent in a grin that had already chosen its audience. "You hear me?" he said louder. "Put the badge down where I can see it." Aisha held the small leather case open in her palm. "You can see it now. Call the number on the back." A few people had stopped on the courthouse steps. A delivery van idled at the curb. Someone's phone chimed, then another. Aisha kept her face still, but her fingers brushed the blue hair tie in her blazer pocket, the one Zoe had left around her wrist the last time they sat together in a visitation room. "That's your plan?" Hale let out a short laugh. "Flash a federal badge and walk into county court like nobody's going to ask questions?" "My hearing starts in 11 minutes, Aisha said. "If you want this handled correctly, verify the identification and let me go upstairs." "Handled correctly," he repeated, turning to the sidewalk as if sharing a joke. "Did you all hear that?" An elderly woman on the top step froze with a stack of files in her arms. Esther Reed. Her glasses flashed in the pale light. Across the street, Miguel Ortiz stepped out of his diner doorway and wiped his hands on a towel, not taking his eyes off Hale. "Officer," Esther called, careful and thin. "The family docket begins at 9. If she's due in court." Hale cut her off without looking up. "Then she should have thought about that before making trouble outside my courthouse." Aisha's gaze shifted to the building clock. 8:49. "It's not your courthouse," she said. That landed harder than anything loud could have. Miguel lowered the towel. A younger officer by the cruiser, Dale Pierce, glanced at Hale, then at the open badge, then away. Hale's smile flattened. "Name?" "Aisha Bennett." "Purpose in town?" "Court hearing." "Try again." She said nothing. The pause stretched. Tires hissed over damp asphalt. Somewhere down the block, a bus exhaled at a stop. Hale took the silence as permission. "See, this is the part I don't like," he said. "People show up in a borrowed sedan, cheap shoes, some trinket, and expect everybody to panic." Aisha bent, slowly, and picked up the manila folder he had nudged against the curb with his boot. One corner had gone dark with rainwater. Inside were custody papers, school reports, a photograph of Zoe missing her front tooth. "Don't touch that," Hale snapped. "You already did." For the first time, Dale stepped forward. "Sir, I can run the credential. Stay in your lane, Hale said. Esther's files slipped in her arms. One page fluttered down the steps. Nobody moved to help her. The silence from the crowd had changed shape now. It was no longer curiosity. It was counting. Aisha closed the folder, tucked it against her side, and raised the badge again. Call it in, she said quietly. Or explain to the judge why I missed that courtroom. Hale stared at her, then reached for his radio with a look that promised he had chosen the second option. At 6:45 a.m., Aisha sat in the motel parking lot with the engine off and the courthouse address folded on the passenger seat. Fog clung to the windshield. Her phone lit up. Missed call. Denise Carter. Aisha let the screen fade. She could not call back yet. Not from this line. Not before the federal check-in. Not while the Parker Falls operation depended on no one knowing why she had really come home. The blue hair tie lay around the gear shift. She rubbed the stretched elastic between her fingers. You still keep it? Linda Park asked from the open car door. The family attorney wore a navy coat and a crooked silver hair clip. She gave it to me, Aisha said. Zoe gives away things when she wants someone to come back. Then I should be early. Linda handed her a paper cup. The coffee smelled burnt and sweet. Court starts at 9. Denise already called twice. I saw. Are you going to tell me why you brought 2 phones and an envelope I can't read? Aisha slid the sealed envelope under the folder. No. As your lawyer, I hate that answer. Then get me in front of the judge. A patrol cruiser rolled past, too slow for morning traffic. Linda noticed. You think that's about you? I think small towns remember cars before faces. And last names. Bennett is not a quiet name here. Aisha tucked the hair tie in her blazer pocket. My father's name isn't on today's petition. By 7:30, Aisha was in the diner across from the courthouse in a cracked red booth. Grease warmed the air. Plates clicked behind the counter. Miguel Ortiz filled her water glass, stopped, and stared at the custody file. Marcus Bennett's girl? He asked. Aisha's hand stilled. His daughter. Miguel set the pitcher down. Gray touched his beard, and a burn scar curved along one wrist. Your father sat right there. Black coffee. No sugar. Never sent food back, even when it was wrong. Linda closed her menu. We're due in court. I know. Miguel lowered his voice. Be careful near those steps. Hale has been circling since 6. Asked my cook if we had seen a woman in a gray sedan. Aisha looked through the window at the courthouse columns. What did you tell him? She asked. That I don't inventory customers for police. Linda's jaw tightened. Aisha, tell me this is only about custody. Aisha folded Zoe's school report into the file. Today is about Zoe. Keep it that way. Her second phone vibrated once. No name appeared, only a secure notice. Check-in window open 0800. She turned it face down. At 8:12, Denise Carter finally reached Linda's phone. The social worker's voice came through thin and clipped. Is Ms. Bennett with you? Yes, Linda said. We're on schedule. Zoe is already inside. She asked if her aunt changed her mind. Aisha closed her eyes for 1 second. Linda covered the microphone. Do you want to speak to her? No, Aisha said. If she hears me, she'll count minutes. Linda repeated. We're on schedule. Outside, wind pushed napkins across the sidewalk. Aisha left cash under the mug and lifted the worn folder. The blue hair tie pressed against her ribs. At the corner, the same cruiser eased away from the curb and followed them toward Parker Avenue. The cruiser stayed 3 car lengths behind them until the courthouse dome rose over the drugstore roof. Linda noticed first. He's still there. Aisha kept both hands on the wheel. Main Street looked smaller than memory. Chipped storefronts, a barber pole turning in damp air, rainwater trembling in the gutters. "Don't turn around," Aisha said. "I'm not the one being followed." "No, you're the one who has to argue custody in 40 minutes. The cruiser slid beside them. Officer Hale looked through the window and smiled as if the answer had come before the question. Then he rolled ahead. Linda exhaled. "You know him?" "No, but he knows the car." On the seat, her father's old photograph had slipped halfway out. Marcus Bennett stood in front of the old bus depot in a pressed shirt, one corner bent like a small wound. Linda touched the edge. "Is that him?" "Don't crease it." Aisha slid the photograph back. "He used to bring me here on Fridays." "People still talk about him." "People talk when they don't have to testify." They parked behind Miguel's diner. He met them at the kitchen door, apron dusted with flour. "Use the alley," he said. Linda glanced toward the street. "Why would we need that?" "Because her father tried the front way once." The kitchen smelled of onions, dish soap, and hot bread. Miguel led them into the passage between buildings, where rain dripped from a fire escape. Aisha stopped. "Say it." Miguel's jaw worked. "Marcus came to the courthouse with a complaint. Monroe's officers were stopping people on Willow Road. Broken light. Wrong turn. Suspicious behavior. Your father had names." Linda's voice dropped. "Chief Monroe?" "Lieutenant, then." Miguel wiped his hands on his towel. "Marcus walked in with a folder. Walked out without it." "What happened after?" "A week later, folks stopped signing statements." A door slammed above them. Linda flinched. "You kept this quiet?" Miguel looked at the wet bricks. "I kept my diner open. That was the brave thing I could afford." Aisha asked, "Did my father name Hale?" "Hale was young, around the edges, laughed with the older ones." Miguel looked toward Parker Avenue. "Some boys learn a badge before they learn a spine." On the next block, Hale pulled to the curb and lifted his radio. Chief Roland Monroe answered from his office above the station lobby. "What is it?" Monroe asked. "Gray sedan. Bennett woman. Headed to court." The chief's pen stopped. He was 56, broad-shouldered, silver hair combed too neatly, thumb pressing his wedding ring. "Bennett?" "That's what Ortiz called her. Lawyer, too." Monroe stood. "Keep strangers away from the court entrance today." "How hard?" "Use judgment." Hale laughed softly. "You mean mine?" "I mean, don't put anything on paper I have to explain." The radio clicked off. At the alley mouth, Esther Reed stood on the courthouse steps with files against her chest, watching Hale's cruiser with a clerk's patient face and a witness's eyes. Linda whispered, "We can ask for security." Aisha felt Zoe's hair tie in one pocket and Marcus's photograph in the folder. "No," she said. "We walk in where everyone can see us." Across the street, Hale opened his door before she had taken 3 steps. Hale's cruiser door opened before Aisha reached the crosswalk. "Ma'am," he called, loud enough for the courthouse steps. "Hold right there." Aisha stopped with one shoe on the painted line. Rainwater shone in Parker Avenue's cracks. Linda stood behind her, gripping her briefcase. "We are due inside," Linda said. Hale circled the cruiser, boots splashing through a puddle. "License and registration." "For what violation?" Aisha asked. "Failure to signal." "She signaled. I was in the car." "Then you can wait too." Aisha opened her bag and gave him the papers. He barely read them. "Borrowed car?" "My aunt's." "Convenient." "Legal?" His eyes lifted. "You always talk like a deposition?" Only when someone is building one. On the steps, Esther Reed froze with court files against her chest. Dale Pierce parked behind Hale and climbed out, rain on his hat brim. Across the street, Miguel Ortiz stood in the diner doorway with a towel in one hand. Hal pointed at the manila folder under Aisha's arm. "What's in that?" "Family court documents." "Open it." "No?" Linda stepped forward. "Those files are confidential. Court starts in 17 minutes. Her traffic stop starts now." Hale tapped the hood. "Folder there." The courthouse clock clicked behind them. 8:43. "Officer Hale," Esther called. "Judge Harris begins at 9 sharp. Go inside, Miss Reed. Count paper clips." A nervous laugh rose, then faded. Aisha placed the folder on the hood, but kept one palm on it. Hale slid his fingers under the flap and pulled. A school report shifted loose. Zoe's photograph followed, Zoe smiling with one front tooth missing. "Don't," Aisha said. The photo slid across the wet hood and dropped to the curb. One corner darkened. Linda bent, but Aisha was faster. She lifted it with 2 fingers, careful with the ink. A cold thread of water ran down her wrist. The blue hair tie pressed against her knuckles. "That's a child," Linda said. Hale shrugged. "Then keep your papers organized." Dale stepped forward. "Sir, I can run her information and clear this." Hale turned on him. "Did I ask?" "No, sir." "Then save it." Aisha tucked Zoe's photograph back into the folder. "I'm going to show you identification. Verify it through the credential number, not local dispatch." Hale smiled. "You giving orders now?" "I'm preventing a mistake." She opened the leather case. The seal caught pale light. Dale stared. Esther drew a short breath. Miguel raised his phone only to chest height. Hale took the case from her palm. "Special Agent," he read, dragging out the words. "Aisha Bennett, Office of Public Integrity." He chuckled. "That's supposed to mean something here. It means call the number." Linda reached out. "Return it." Hale turned the badge toward the small crowd. "Anybody can buy a case. Anybody can print a seal." "Call the number," Aisha repeated. The clock clicked again. 8:46. Hale dropped the badge case on the hood. The small sound cut through the wet street. Then his boot came down on the dark corner of Aisha's folder before she lifted it. "Hands where I can see them," he said. Esther's files trembled. Dale looked at the badge, then at Hale's boot. And Parker Avenue waited for someone else to speak. The badge case lay open on the hood. The courthouse clock clicked once. Hale rested 2 fingers beside it. "Office of Public Integrity," he read. "That's supposed to scare me?" Aisha kept her palms visible. "It is supposed to be verified." "By who? Your cousin with a desk phone?" He turned toward the steps. "Everybody hear that? She wants special treatment." Linda moved closer. "Return her credentials and call the confirmation line." "Counselor, step back." "State the charge." Hale smiled. "I'm getting there." Dale stood near the cruiser. "Sir, federal credentials have a verification process. We can run it." Hale's head turned. "You want to teach today, Pierce?" "No, sir, I just—" A small click cut him off. It came from Hale's vest, nearly lost under tires hissing on wet asphalt. Aisha knew the sound. Dale heard it too. Esther Reed turned her head. The light on Hale's body camera had gone dark. Cold rain tapped the hood in uneven beats. "Your camera," Aisha said. "Battery issue." "It was recording a moment ago." "You a technician too?" Linda's voice dropped. "Turn it back on." Hale lifted one palm. "Last warning. Back up." Across Parker Avenue, Miguel Ortiz lowered his towel and slid his phone from his apron pocket. He braced it against the diner window, lens through the glass. Hot onion smell drifted out behind him. Hale picked up the badge case with 2 fingers. Here is what's going to happen. You're going to admit you presented this to influence a lawful stop. No. You're going to say you misunderstood. No. And you're going to apologize. Aisha looked once at the courthouse clock. 8:51. Inside her damp folder were Zoe's reports and the gap-toothed photo. In her pocket, the blue hair tie had twisted tight around her thumb. I will not give you a false statement, she said. The crowd shifted. A woman with a stroller stared at the ground. A man in a brown work jacket lowered his phone. Esther gripped the railing until her files bent. Hale leaned close. You don't get to come back here and make us look small. Aisha answered softly. You did that alone. His face emptied. Louder, he said. Say it louder. She said nothing. Write this down. Suspicious credential. Refusal to cooperate. Possible obstruction. Dale lifted his notepad, but did not write. I need exact facts, sir. I gave them to you. You gave conclusions. Dale looked surprised by himself. Miguel's thumb moved on his phone. He typed, Nora King. Courthouse stop. Camera off. Federal badge. Need eyes now. Hale saw the motion. Put that phone away. Miguel lifted his chin. I'm in my diner. You're interfering? I'm watching. A murmur passed through the sidewalk. Aisha did not smile. She folded the wet corner of her folder inward, shielding Zoe's picture from the rain. Hale snapped the badge case shut and held it out, then pulled it back before she could take it. Last chance, he said. Tell them you made yourself bigger than you are. Behind Esther, the courthouse doors opened. A bailiff called the docket. Aisha looked at the closed badge case in Hale's hand. Call the number. Hale laughed, and the dark lens on his camera stared back without a light. The docket is starting, Esther called from the steps. The bailiff's voice rolled through the courthouse doors. Aisha heard papers moving, shoes squeaking on tile, lights buzzing. Her name was inside, and Zoe would be watching that door. Hale kept the badge case in his fist. Then she should have planned better. Linda's face tightened. Officer, you are interfering with family court. I'm investigating suspicious behavior. What behavior? Hale turned. You want to join her? Aisha touched Linda's sleeve. Not now. Esther came down 3 steps. She was 68, small-boned, white hair pinned tight, cardigan buttoned wrong. A file shook against her chest. Her eyes moved from Aisha's face to the license. Bennett, she said. Hale snapped. You know her. Esther did not answer him. Marcus Bennett had your eyes. Aisha's breath changed. I need to get inside, Ms. Reed. Yes, Esther whispered. Yes, you do. She pulled out a spare court notice. The paper shivered in the wind. On the blank back, she wrote 8:52 a.m. Hale, holding badge. Camera light off. Her pen scratched hard enough to tear the page. Dale watched the pen. Hale saw him. Pierce? Sir? Run the plate. I already did. Registration matches the aunt's address. Then run it again. Dale moved to the cruiser, but his eyes dropped to the badge case. The number showed for half a second. Dale knew local badges and contractor IDs. This was neither. The grouping looked federal, the prefix from training. His radio crackled. Unit 12, status. Chief Monroe's voice filled the wet street. Hale lifted his mic. Detaining a subject outside court. Possible false federal credential. Aisha's chin lifted. False has not been established. Hale spoke over her. Subject is argumentative. Linda said. She answered every lawful question. Monroe's voice cooled. Pierce on scene? Dale pressed his mic. Yes, Chief. Assist Officer Hale. Don't get smart. The words landed everywhere. Miguel stopped recording, then started again. Esther's pen hovered above the paper. A woman near the steps pulled her child closer. Dale's ears flushed red. Copy? He said. Aisha looked at him, not pleading, not accusing. Hale noticed the crowd had grown quiet. All of you got somewhere to be. Nobody moved. Miguel spoke from across the street. Court starts at 9. That's somewhere. Hale pointed at him. Last warning. For standing in my doorway? For interfering. I'm watching a public sidewalk. Hale took one step toward him. Aisha said, Officer Hale. He stopped. If you leave my credentials unsecured while approaching a witness, I will note it. Hale glanced down as if the badge had become heavier. Esther bent over the notice again. Her fingers trembled so hard, the second line looked jagged. 8:55. Threatened witness. Credential not verified. Dale returned from the cruiser. Sir, no warrants. License valid. Registration valid. Court address matches her destination. Hale held out his hand. Your notepad. Dale hesitated. Why? Because you're writing like defense counsel. Then the courthouse doors opened wider. Bennett guardianship matter. First call. The blue hair tie in Aisha's pocket felt suddenly too small to hold. Second call for the Bennett guardianship matter, the bailiff announced. The sound came through the open courthouse doors and crossed Parker Avenue. Aisha looked past Hale to the steps, where Linda had one foot lifted. Go, Aisha said. Not without you. Tell Judge Harris I am being detained. Use Esther's times. Hale snapped the badge case shut. Nobody is going anywhere until I finish. Linda stepped around him. Then explain that to the judge. Rain ticked on the cruiser roof. Hale pointed at Dale. Cuff her. Dale did not move. Sir, on what charge? Obstruction. Suspicious credential. Refusal to comply. Pick one. Aisha placed the wet folder on the hood. Officer Pierce, notify the court I am not absent by choice. Dale swallowed. The cuffs on his belt clicked when he touched them. Ma'am, turn around. Miguel lowered his phone. Esther covered her mouth with the folded notice. The crowd did not shout. Shoes shifted on damp concrete. Someone pulled a stroller back from the curb. Aisha turned. The cold ring closed around one wrist, then the other. The blue hair tie caught under her fingers. For 1 second she could feel Zoe's small hand looping it there after visitation, serious as a promise. Don't tighten them, Dale murmured. Then don't make me, she answered. Hale smiled. Careful, Pierce. She'll make you her witness next. Linda was already climbing the steps. Esther, with me. Now. Esther hesitated, eyes still on Aisha. Go, Aisha said again. Inside, the air changed to polish, paper, and old heat. Clerk Samuel Boyd, 52 and narrow-faced, stood outside courtroom 2 with a clipboard against his stomach. Linda, where is Ms. Bennett? He asked. Being detained outside by Parker Falls Police. Mark that. Samuel glanced at the courtroom. I can mark counsel present. The petitioner herself is not. Not absent by choice, Esther said, holding out the notice. Camera off at 8:52. Badge held. Threat to witness at 8:55. Samuel's pen hovered. This is unusual. Linda leaned close. A child is waiting inside. Make it unusual in the record. Outside, Hale guided Aisha toward the cruiser. Head down. No? You want them watching? They already are. Miguel stepped off the curb. Aisha, do you want me to call someone? Hale spun. Back up. Answer him, Aisha said. He asked me. Her voice stayed level, but Dale saw her fingers close around the hair tie, until the elastic flattened white against her skin. "Call Nora King," she said. "Tell her to keep the raw video. Do not edit it." Hale opened the rear door. Hot vinyl smell rolled out, sour from the heater. He bent toward Dale. "Report says she reached toward the folder after being ordered not to. Then she used questionable credentials to influence the stop." Dale's face tightened. "That's not the sequence." "It's the sequence now." Aisha lowered herself into the back seat. The plastic partition reflected her face in two pieces. From the courthouse doors, Samuel Boyd stepped out, clipboard in hand. "Officer Hale? Courtroom 2 requests confirmation of the detention." The courthouse clock struck 9, and Dale's pen stopped above a blank report line. The station door shut behind Aisha with a flat metal clap. Warm air hit her face, smelling of floor wax and old coffee. Hale crossed the lobby with her badge case in his fist. "Phone and personal items," Hale said. "I need one call to my attorney," Aisha answered. "You'll get what the process gives you. There is a child in courtroom 2. Hale dropped her phone into a plastic tray. The screen flashed, "Linda Park." Then it went black. Aisha's fingers tightened around the blue hair tie until the cuff chain pulled at her wrists. "Sir, we can notify counsel she's here." "The stop is over," Hale said. "Now it's custody." They put her in a small interview room. A square of paint on the wall was lighter than the rest, with 2 screw holes where a clock had once hung. The plastic chair was cold through her blazer. Dale uncuffed her. "I'll leave the door open." Hale pushed it halfway shut. "You'll leave it how I say." Aisha rubbed the marks on her wrists once. "Officer Pierce, what time is it?" Dale looked at the empty patch by habit, then at his watch. 9:16. Hale laughed from the doorway. "Time moves slower when games stop working." "Where is my badge?" Aisha asked. "Evidence." "Logged?" His smile thinned. "You really can't help yourself." The door closed. For several minutes, the room gave her a printer coughing, radio static, Hale's voice too low to make out. Aisha counted breaths to keep from counting minutes. Maybe Judge Harris had waited. Maybe Linda had forced a record. Maybe Zoe sat beside Denise, feet not reaching the floor. Aisha stood at the narrow window. "Officer Pierce." Dale appeared. "Write this down. Tell Linda Park. I am present in Parker Falls, held at the station, and I did not abandon Zoe. Use those words." Dale hesitated. "Zoe is the child?" "My niece." He wrote slowly. The pen scratched loud in the tight room. From the lobby, Hale barked. "Pierce!" Dale folded the note once. "I'll try." "Don't try where he can see you." Hale intercepted him by the vending machine. "What's that?" "A note for her attorney." "Since when are you courier service?" "It documents her request." Hale read the paper and glanced toward the room. Aisha watched. He crumpled the note one corner at a time. Dale's voice dropped. "Sir, that should go in the file." "It will." Hale tossed it into the trash. "Eventually." Aisha sat down before her knees made the choice. The table pressed into her palms. She did not cry. She stared at the blank patch where the clock had been and imagined Zoe counting ceiling tiles in court. A radio voice crackled outside. "Court liaison requesting status on Bennett. Judge asking whether detention has expected duration." Hale picked up the mic. "Subject is uncooperative. No estimated release." Aisha rose so fast the chair scraped the floor. "That is false." Hale came close to the glass. "Sit down. The child has already lost one home. Do not put your report between her and another." His face hardened. "You should have thought of that before you brought a fake badge to my street." Aisha pressed the blue hair tie flat in her palm. When Hale walked away, Dale stayed by the trash can, staring at the crumpled note as if it had begun to make noise. Dale waited until Hale's footsteps crossed into the chief's hallway. The trash can beside the vending machine smelled of burnt coffee and damp paper. Through the glass, Aisha sat with both hands flat on the table, the blue hair tie looped around 2 fingers. Dale bent as if tying his shoe. The crumpled note was soft at the corners. He carried it to the duty desk, where a green lamp buzzed over the blotter. "Pierce," the dispatcher called. "You logging Hale's obstruction?" "Checking sequence. He wants it before lunch." Dale smoothed the note with his thumb. "Tell Linda Park, I am present in Parker Falls, held at the station, and I did not abandon Zoe." Below it, hidden in the fold, Aisha had written 5 words in block letters. "Blue switch still burns at 9. Dale stared. He had seen that structure once during training in Raleigh. Color, object, condition, time. A phrase meant for people who already knew where to look. "You all right?" the dispatcher asked. "I need the federal directory." "For what?" "For not making this worse." Across Parker Avenue, Miguel locked the diner door for the first time before lunch. The bell trembled above him. His phone showed Nora King typing. "Send raw file. No commentary. Keep original timestamp." Miguel looked toward the curb, then pressed send. Nora King was 41, with copper-gray curls and reading glasses on her head. Her office smelled of toner. The video opened with Hale's laugh, the badge in his hand, and the dark body camera lens. "Oh no," she whispered. She typed, "Officer stops woman outside court. Federal badge displayed. Body camera appears to go dark. Department asked for comment." "Questions only," Nora said to the empty room. "Questions travel farther than shouting." Back at the station, Dale found the verification number taped inside an old binder. His fingers slipped before he dialed. A woman's voice answered. "Federal Coordination Desk. Identify. Officer Dale Pierce, Parker Falls Police. I need to verify a credential. Possible agent detained." The line changed. No music. Then a man's voice came on. "This is Raymond Ellis. Spell the name." Dale swallowed. "Aisha Bennett, Office of Public Integrity." Nothing moved on the other end for half a second. "Where is she?" "Our station. Interview room 2. Officer Hale has her badge. Chief Monroe is aware." "Is she hurt?" "No. Restrained earlier. Phone taken. Hearing missed." "Who else heard the name?" Dale looked through the blinds. Hale stood in the hallway with the closed badge case. "Too many," Dale said. Raymond Ellis, 49, sat in a gray sedan 2 towns over with an operations folder on his knees. Raymond covered the phone. "Bennett's exposed. Parker Falls took her in." Marisol Vega closed her laptop. "Local?" "Hale. Monroe knew." She reached for the keys. Raymond returned to the call. "Do not confront them. Preserve the note, logs, camera status, and radio traffic. If anyone asks, you're waiting on routine confirmation." Dale's grip tightened on the smoothed paper. "Her attorney?" he asked. "Send the message exactly as written." In the interview room, Aisha watched Dale step back into the hall with the note no longer hidden. For the first time, he did not look away. Nora's phone would not stay dark. It blinked beside her keyboard, lighting dust on her desk. Miguel's raw video played on her laptop. Hale's laugh, the badge case in his hand. Aisha asking for the number to be called. No adjectives, Nora told herself. Her first post was 6 lines. Time, place, visible facts. 1 question about the dark camera light. 1 about the credential. She hit publish at 9:42 a.m. By 9:47, the phone began to jump. My brother got stopped on Willow Road. They said my plate light was out. It wasn't. Ask Monroe about 2018. Nora pushed her glasses. The heater clicked, blowing dry air that smelled of paper. She typed names, dates, cross streets. The blinking would not stop. Miguel called. Did you post it? What we can prove. People are in the diner asking if the woman is okay. Don't answer for her. Tell them to save originals. I should have filmed sooner. She watched Hale's hand close around the badge. Then film correctly now. At the courthouse, Linda stood outside courtroom 2 with Esther Reed's notice. Esther had climbed slowly, cardigan damp at the cuffs, but her pen had not left her grip. Read it once, Linda said. Esther adjusted her glasses. 8:52, camera light off. 8:55, threatened witness. 9 o'clock, detention during first call. Judge Harris will want a sworn statement. Then I'll swear it. You understand what that means? Esther's mouth trembled, then steadied. I understood it years ago. I just didn't do it. Inside, Zoe sat beside Denise Carter, one shoe swinging above the floor. She had taken a blue marker and drawn loops on a legal pad. Is my aunt late because of me? Zoe asked. Denise covered the pad. No, honey. Adults are fixing something outside. Adults always say outside when they mean secret. Denise had no answer ready. At the station, Chief Monroe's blinds were closed. Hale stood in front of the desk, while Dale sat with a blank report and Aisha's note under his ticket book. Monroe placed a printed draft in front of him. The paper was warm from the copier. Sign that, the chief said. Dale read the first line. Subject presented suspected fraudulent identification and escalated contact. Routine language. It isn't true. Hale laughed once. You writing poetry now? Monroe leaned over the desk. His ring tapped the wood. You are 31, Pierce. You have a mortgage and a mother in care. You want to throw that behind a woman you met in the street? Dale looked at the signature line. The ink looked too clean. I want the sequence right. The sequence is what keeps this department standing. Outside, the dispatcher lowered the radio volume. She could still hear every word. Dale set the pen down. Then let the camera footage stand with it. Hale's face changed. Battery died. At the exact second she asked for verification. Monroe's hand flattened over the draft. Careful? Dale pushed the paper back. Yes, sir. Then Monroe's desk phone rang. He snatched it up, listened, and looked out. Aisha sat alone in interview room 2. Who published what? Monroe said. Dale's phone vibrated in his pocket. One secure text from the number he had called. Federal team arriving. Preserve everything. At 10:03 a.m., 3 plain sedans stopped beside the Parker Falls evidence bay. Doors closed almost together. Marisol Vega stepped out first, rain on her coat. Inside, Chief Monroe held his desk phone too tightly. No, councilwoman. There is no crisis. The lobby doors opened. Dale stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. Hale turned from the counter with Aisha's badge case in his fist. Raymond Ellis entered without raising his voice. Chief Monroe. Monroe lowered the phone. Can I help you? Start by returning federal property. Hale snorted. Federal property? That's what she's calling it now? Marisol placed a document on the counter. The seal caught the fluorescent light. Beside it, she set a folder marked with the code from Aisha's note. Raymond said, Special Agent Aisha Bennett is assigned to an active review involving this department. Your officers detained her, seized credentials, and failed to verify them. Hale lifted the case. She didn't identify herself properly. Dale heard his own voice. She did. She requested verification more than once. I suggested running the credential. Officer Hale declined. Monroe's jaw hardened. Pierce, not another word. Marisol looked toward interview room 2. Where is she? Hale stepped sideways. You don't walk through my station without... Without what? Raymond asked. Aisha heard him through the door and stood. The room smelled of dust and cold coffee. On the table, she had lined up a paper cup, a broken pencil, and the blue hair tie. The door opened. Agent Bennett, Marisol said. Aisha nodded. Agent Vega. Raymond looked at her wrists. Are you injured? No. Medical attention? No. I need to know whether Judge Harris has ruled. Hale gave a short laugh. That's your first concern? Aisha closed the hair tie in her palm. It was before you stopped me. Raymond turned to Monroe. Release her property. Monroe's voice flattened. We still have local charges. There are no charges that survive your timeline. She obstructed, Hale said. Marisol opened another folder. Your camera went dark at 8:52. Your radio call said false credential at 8:54. No verification request appears in dispatch logs. 2 videos show her folder under your boot. Hale's hand lowered. You had video? Several, Raymond said. Aisha stepped into the lobby. The dispatcher looked down at her keyboard. Raymond set Aisha's damp folder beside the clean federal folder. The seal rested inches from the water-darkened corner where Zoe's photograph had been. Aisha touched the ruined edge. Has Linda Park been notified? She asked. Dale lifted the smoothed note. I sent the message exactly. She looked at him. Thank you. Raymond handed her phone back. Your attorney filed an emergency statement. The court paused the ruling. Aisha closed her eyes once. Then I need to go. Monroe moved near the exit. This department will cooperate through counsel. Raymond's reply was quiet. You will cooperate with evidence. Aisha walked past Hale with the blue hair tie around her wrist and folder against her chest. At the door, she held out one hand. My badge. Hale opened the case and placed it in her palm. The click of the latch sounded louder than his laugh had. The courthouse hallway smelled of lemon polish and wet wool. Aisha came through the side entrance at 10:21 with her damp folder against her chest. Conversations died. The elevator opened empty, then closed. Linda crossed the hall fast enough to skid. You're here? I'm late. You're on the record as detained. Where is Zoe? Inside. Denise kept her calm. Through the window, Zoe sat beside Denise Carter, feet tucked under the chair, a blue marker in her hand. Loops covered a yellow pad. Did Judge Harris rule? Aisha asked. No. Esther stopped it. Esther Reed stood near the clerk's desk, cardigan damp, holding the notice with jagged writing on the back. Samuel Boyd had clipped it to the file. Aisha went to her. Ms. Reed, I wrote what I saw, Esther said. That was enough. Her fingers tightened around the paper. It was late, but it was something. Samuel opened the door. Judge Harris will reconvene. Enter when ready. The courtroom was warmer than the hall. Fluorescent light gave every face a tired shine. Zoe turned at Aisha's shoes. Aunt Aisha? Aisha knelt beside the table. I came, Aisha said. Zoe's chin moved once. They said adults were fixing outside. Some adults made it harder. Did I do something? No. Aisha held out her wrist. The blue hair tie was damp. You gave me something to bring back. Zoe slipped it off, pressed it between both hands, then looped it around Aisha's wrist again. Denise watched with her folder open and her pen unmoving. The judge needs to ask questions. I'll answer. Judge Evelyn Harris entered, silver braids pinned low, robe settling like a closed door. Be seated, she said. Papers stopped moving. "Ms. Bennett," the judge said, "this court has sworn timing that your absence from first call was caused by police detention outside this building. Is that accurate?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Do you wish to address it?" Aisha placed the damp folder on the table. "Only as it affects Zoe. I did not miss this hearing by choice. I did not abandon her. Please don't let adult misuse of power mark a child." Harris looked to Denise. "Agency position?" "The agency withdraws any concern related to punctuality," Denise said. Zoe whispered, "Does that mean I can go with her?" Denise bent close. "It means the judge is still listening." "Miss Zoe," Judge Harris said, "I am listening to everyone." Zoe sat up straighter. The judge turned a page. "A federal badge does not make a home suitable. Tell me why this child should trust you to stay." Aisha looked at Zoe's blue loops. "Because I know what it costs when adults vanish into closed rooms and children only get explanations afterward. I can't promise every day will be easy. I can promise she will know where I am and why." The courtroom went still. Judge Harris set down her pen. "Emergency weekend visitation with Ms. Bennett is granted, supervised by Ms. Carter. Full review continues in 14 days." Zoe did not cheer. She reached under the table and found Aisha's hand. Outside the window, police lights passed without sirens. "This isn't over," Linda whispered. Aisha looked at the wet folder, the blue hair tie, and the door that had finally opened for her. "No," she said, "but she heard us." At 2:18 p.m., Aisha stood in Linda Park's office while Zoe slept on the couch. Rain had stopped. Sunlight crossed the blinds, drying the folder. The blue hair tie hung loose on Aisha's wrist as Raymond Ellis spoke through her phone. Internal review opened at noon. Federal review 10 minutes later. Hale is on leave. And Monroe? Calling this one bad stop. Aisha watched Zoe turn. It wasn't one. "No," Raymond said, "it wasn't." By 3, the town hall hearing room smelled of varnish and raincoats. A long table held reports, logs, and still frames from Miguel's video. A red stamp crossed Hale's statement, false statement review. Hale sat at one end, jaw tight. Chief Monroe sat behind him, arms crossed. Councilwoman Grace Holloway wore readers on a chain. "Officer Hale," she said, "begin with the timeline. I acted on a suspicious credential." Marisol Vega slid a page forward. At 8:46, Agent Bennett displayed her credential. At 8:52, your camera stopped recording. At 8:54, you radioed possible false federal credential. Where is your verification request? Scene was active. That is not an answer. Monroe cleared his throat. My officer made a field judgment. Grace looked at him. Chief, you will have a turn. Esther Reed sat in the second row with both hands on her purse. Miguel sat beside her. Dale Pierce stood by the wall. Marisol pressed a remote. Miguel's video filled the screen. Hale's laugh came through the speakers. Anybody can buy a case. Hale stared. Taken out of context. Raymond placed Dale's transcript beside the video. Your junior officer offered verification twice. Grace asked, Officer Pierce, is that accurate? Dale stepped forward. His fingers missed his sleeve button twice. Yes, ma'am. Hale turned. Careful. Dale did not look at him. I should have insisted. I didn't. The room held that sentence. Aisha sat behind Linda, not at the investigator's table. She did not want victory. She wanted a record. Grace turned to Monroe. Why was a report draft prepared that contradicted video? Monroe's ring tapped the table. Drafts are common. Marisol opened another folder. 7 older complaints use similar wording. Willow Road, Courthouse block. East Depot. Camera interruption. Vague obstruction language. No verification. Esther whispered. Marcus. Raymond laid one more paper on the table. Marcus Bennett's complaint, recovered from a mislabeled archive. Fold marks were deep. The signature was her father's. Monroe's face lost color. That file was closed. Buried, Raymond said. Hale pushed back his chair. This is ridiculous. Grace's voice cut through the scrape. Sit down. He sat. Aisha looked at the red stamp. The words stayed where everyone could see them. Outside, a bus sighed at the curb. Zoe would wake soon and ask whether the weekend counted. Grace removed her readers. This committee will preserve camera, dispatch, and complaint records. Chief Monroe, you're relieved of control over this review. Monroe opened his mouth, but no sound came. Dale finally looked at Aisha. She gave him the smallest nod. Then Raymond's phone buzzed. He read the message and turned the screen toward Aisha. Recovered archive contains additional Bennett material. The recovered archive arrived in a gray evidence box before sunset. Aisha stood at the back of the town hall room while Raymond cut the tape. The cardboard smelled of dust and basement water. Inside were complaints, dispatch slips, and a folder with her father's name in blue ink. Grace Holloway did not touch it. This is not for theater. It never was, Aisha said. Dale stood by the door. Hale had been escorted out. Monroe remained at the table with the department attorney, jaw set, ring no longer tapping. Raymond opened Marcus Bennett's file. The paper gave a dry crackle. Complaint submitted March 14, 2009. Repeated stops without cause. 5 witnesses listed. Miguel leaned forward. I was one. Esther turned to him. You never told me. I signed. Then the folder disappeared. He looked at Aisha. I kept my diner and called that survival. The blue hair tie brushed Aisha's wrist as she breathed. Grace pulled a blank sheet from her folder. Then we stopped calling this a personnel matter. Monroe shifted. Policy changes require procedure. Good, Grace said. We will use it. By 6, residents filled the back rows. Wet coats warmed the air. Nora King sat along the wall, notebook closed. Grace read the first rule. Any officer shown federal, state, or court credentials must verify through the independent line before seizure or detention, unless immediate danger is documented. Marisol added, Dispatch logs the attempt. Dale raised his hand. And body cameras? Grace nodded. Say it. If a camera goes dark during a stop, another officer states the reason on radio and starts backup recording. If they can't, the stop is flagged. Monroe waved his attorney silent. Esther stood. Witnesses need somewhere to report what they see without walking into the same station. Grace wrote, Independent Witness Hotline. Miguel said, Keep footage where no chief can bury it. Raymond looked to Aisha. Independent storage, longer retention, quarterly audit. The marker squeaked against the whiteboard. Each line looked too simple for what it cost. Aisha stepped forward. Training at courthouse stops, she said. Not a speech. Scenario review. What happens when family court, criminal court, public fear, and a badge meet on one sidewalk? Dale lowered his eyes. And children, Aisha added. When an adult is detained on the way to a custody hearing, the court must be notified immediately by someone other than the arresting officer. The room went still. Nora's pen stopped. Grace wrote the sentence slowly. At the old bulletin board, a clerk pulled down faded notices. The cork had dark circles where tacks had rusted. Grace pinned the order with 4 bent brass tacks. No applause followed. Only the hum of lights and the soft rub of folded papers. Monroe stood. This will damage confidence in the department. Aisha looked at him. No, it names what already damaged it. He had no answer. Outside, Zoe waited in Linda's car, drawing blue loops on a napkin. Aisha slid into the front seat and rested Marcus's copied complaint on her lap. Did you win? Zoe asked. Aisha watched the courthouse windows catch the weak gold. Not yet, she said, but tomorrow the rules will be on the wall where everyone can read them. 3 months later, the courthouse bulletin board no longer sagged under old notices. A laminated sheet hung at eye level, pinned flat with brass tacks. Credential verification required. Camera interruption report required. Court notification required for detentions affecting active hearings. Beneath it, someone had taped a card with the independent witness hotline. Esther Reed stopped in front of it every morning before unlocking the clerk window. That Tuesday, she straightened the card by one corner. Still crooked? Miguel asked from the doorway, holding 2 paper cups. It moved overnight. Or you don't trust tape. She took the coffee. I trust records. Tape has disappointed me. Across the hall, Dale Pierce stood with a cardboard box under one arm. He had been transferred to county records after giving full testimony. His uniform looked too large without the old certainty around it. Esther nodded to him. You leaving today? Different building, Dale said. Same town. Miguel looked at the bulletin board. Read the wall once in a while. Dale gave a small, tired smile. I plan to. The public report came out that afternoon. Nora King did not use a headline built for anger. She listed the facts. Travis Hale terminated after findings of false reporting, unlawful seizure of credentials, and camera violations. Roland Monroe resigned before a removal vote. 7 older complaints reopened. Marcus Bennett's complaint restored to the public file. At the diner, Miguel printed the article and placed it under the register. Not framed. Not hidden. A woman waiting for takeout touched Marcus's name. I remember him. Miguel wiped the counter twice before answering. Then remember it out loud this time. 2 weeks later, Aisha sat in Judge Harris's courtroom with Zoe beside her. No rain hit the windows. No cruiser idled outside. The folder on the table was dry, copied, and complete. Denise Carter stood when called. The agency recommends guardianship with continued support services. Ms. Bennett has complied with every home review, school meeting, and counseling appointment. Zoe reports feeling safe. Zoe's shoe bumped Aisha's ankle under the table. Judge Harris looked over her glasses. Miss Carter, anything further? Denise closed her folder. Only that this child knows exactly who is coming back for her. Aisha lowered her eyes to her wrist. The blue hair tie was there, faded at the seam. The order was signed at 11:08 a.m. Zoe did not jump or shout. She leaned against Aisha's side as if her body had been holding one long breath for months. Are we done now? Zoe whispered. Aisha folded the order once. With this room. Outside, Raymond Ellis waited near the steps. Marisol Vega stood beside him, watching new recruits across the street practice stopping, listening, and calling verification before touching a document. Raymond said, "The Oversight Committee wants you to speak next month." Aisha looked at Zoe, then at the board visible through the glass doors. "I'll send them notes. That's very you. They need procedures, not speeches." Zoe tugged her sleeve. "Can we go home?" Aisha held the signed order in one hand and Zoe's fingers in the other. Yes. On the courthouse windowsill, the blue hair tie rested for a moment beside the new order while Aisha buttoned Zoe's coat. Sunlight caught both. soft, and ordinary. If this story made you think of a moment when someone was judged before they were heard, share it in the comments. Stories like this matter because silence lets bad habits become normal, and one witness can change the record. Send this to someone who believes dignity and justice should never depend on status, uniform, money, or who gets believed first. Subscribe for more stories about justice, quiet resilience, and the kind of system changes that begin when ordinary people refuse to look away. Your voice may be the reason someone else feels less alone, and your memory may help another person speak.